I just come from the gym. Don't look at my head. Don't look at my face. Just listen. Just joking. But okay, I got some updates. So last time, Kitty. No, no, no. Just sit down. Last time, stop. Last time, how I said that the Africville Heritage Trust took the trailer. They had it towed to a tow yard. So there is an update that now it is in the possession of Uncle Eddie's son, so Boo Man, Eddie the second, which is good, but we are in the works of getting it back on the land. And there's also another petition. He's showing off. There's also another petition to get new leaders for the African Heritage Trust. Because the ones that are there now, clearly they don't care about the land. They just want money or something. And they want to put a monument of something where the trailer was. But that's not the point. That was never the point of the whole protest. And I'm saying her name, Juanita Peters. She always has these same people around. I guess they're the board members or whatever. But they're not the only people, even if they're descendants from Africville. She's not. But they're not the only people that have a say. Like, I don't see why. It just seems like there's also a video going around, and it seems like it's a personal vendetta or something.
Wondering, like, speaking of Africville, I'm surprised that Eddie Carberry hasn't been mentioned. I'm just wondering, like, what you know about Eddie Carberry's contributions to Africville and how it rebuilt the church and everything that, Africville is today.
I will let the former residents answer that question because, in my knowledge, there really hasn't been any from Eddie. I'm just going to let the former residents.
Hi, I'm Beatrice Wilkins. I will be. Yes. Eddie has done nothing for Africville. And the fact that he doesn't recognize the two societies that exist in Africville, in my opinion, he has always been self-serving, and I can say that because I went to school with him. So I know a little bit about him, his activities, his interests, and his non-interest in Africville itself. And you mentioned Eddie, but Eddie's brother had a fundamental part in what Eddie did. And he doesn't get recognized at all. And unfortunately now he has passed away. But Victor Carberry was his name. And I don't want to seem mean towards Eddie, but Eddie has not helped us in any way going forward with the Afro-Genealogy Society, and he's made it publicly known. He has disdain with the museum. He's made that publicly known. And when we were settling up with this apology in 2010, and decided on what was to go forward with the lawyers, to talk to the city lawyers. Now, we had meetings every week. Motions were taken from those meetings, and he was very vocal in not going along with the majority of the people who were voting. So therefore, most of his interests did not come forward, so he was sort of upset. He was all for himself throughout this whole process and still is today. And I'll give you an example. You can fact check. He raised a GoFundMe page for himself. Nothing ever came back to either society or even the black community. To me, I didn't like that. I thought that was self-serving, and I thought he could at least told us about it or said, I would like to help in some way. That never happened. That's my opinion, and that's a fact of what has happened through Eddie.
All right. It's kind of I just want to butt in that with, it's kind of a very contentious issue because the rest of community, when I first came, 8 years ago as the executive director, I was inundated with calls of people saying, well, why can't we do? Why can't we, come and stay on the land and, whatever. And oh my gosh, it was just awful. It was like, so it's been very, very difficult and challenging. We were trying to understand where his interest laid, but really the what he has been doing has actually hindered progress. So and I'm so sad to say that, but on a happy note, we're finding to ways to keep moving forward. Yeah, good story.
Okay, Eddie, I don't miss him. Okay, I want to tell you a good. Not just me, but anyway, you know what? I walked to school when I was living in Africville. Okay, in Africville they had Baptists and Catholics. There were 6 Catholics, and my family was Catholic. I would walk to school 45 minutes a day to St. Stephen's, which was up the hill. My friend Beatrice, she was privileged. She got a bus ride.
Till I was 12.
Till she was 12, they kicked her off. But anyway, I just want to tell you, growing up in Africville, we were all one great big family. We all got along. We all had fun together. One day we might fight. The next day we were best of friends. We didn't have time for this petty stuff. We went skating, fishing, swimming, you name it. And cooking, we learned how to do everything. So we sort of hung together, and we shared everything with the community, especially fishing. Like when Juanita tells you about the sandwiches. Well, when I went to St. Stephen's, the girls were waiting in the cloakroom, wanted to know if I had a lobster or some mussels or a crab sandwich, and I would trade it for a peanut butter and jam or ham and cheese. So, because they didn't get that, we did. You see? And back then, when you went to school, you never told anybody you ate that, because back then it was a poor man's meal. But what is it now? It's a rich man's meal. But like I say, we all went to school, we had fun, and we just moved on and kept on going. Thank you, Africville.
It's clear that our family, like the Carverys, want more than just a little bit of money, It's not even really about the money. Like, yes, reparations, but it's about having the land. And, like, that museum, we don't just want it to be a historical mark in history and blah, blah, blah. No, we want the land. Easy. And it's like she's trying to, like, make everything history, but we want it to be present, not history. Like, I don't see why you're doing this. And it's like she's in their ear talking about this and that to those specific ones. But what about the rest of the Africvillians? Anyways, yes, that's the update. I'll put the petition in my bio again, and I will put it here as well. Let's get into the actual video. Today's video is a story time. This story time is gonna be when my ex had a mental break or something. Yeah, it's not really funny. It is funny, but like when I tell it, but the facts is not funny, and it was a very sad time for me and him, but me. Just joking, but both of us. Okay, so I think we met when I was maybe 22 or 21. Yeah, okay. This was the first guy to ever take me on a date. Mind you, my first boyfriend was at 18, so not very many. So I considered him my first real boyfriend, like real, And so he took me on a date. He was a super gentleman, very nice, very gentleman-like. He opened the door for me. He came to my door, knocked on the door. Okay, so we were like going steady. We were cool. And then I got way too attached. I would stay at his house, and I would skip, like, this is when I was in university, but near the end, when I, like, kind of dropped out. And if you're confused about the timeline of, of, like, him and Penguin, I used to go back and forth. I'm not even gonna lie, chat. I used to go back and forth. But it wasn't like, not really much with him, but like the one before him. It was always like, I was never single. Like, I was single when we would fight, but I was never like by myself working on me, you know? Ugh. There was always someone. Very annoying. Anyways, back to the story. During this time, I never cheated on him. Never, never, never. And I never even entertained anyone while I was with him. So just know that. So I would sleep over his house. He would like come to my house, but he wasn't allowed to sleep over. And like, so I was at his house. I wasn't talking to my family. I wasn't talking to my sisters. No, nothing. They were saying, you're being weird, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, guys, I'm just in a relationship. No, I was definitely off my rocker. And then something happened where I didn't know it at the time, but I was like not there. Like, it was a traumatic experience, and it wasn't nice. But I didn't realize till like years later. Maybe I'll tell that story, maybe not. It's personal. Anyways, so being with him, we were always together. If we weren't at school, we were together. And when we weren't together, I felt like sick. Like, I was just too attached. And so when I was at his family's house, like when I would sleep there, I was shy. Like, I wouldn't really talk to his sisters, and I know that they thought I was weird because I didn't talk. But like, we would go to parties, and we would go downtown together, and we'd be out together and stuff, and it was always fun. But just around his families, I don't know, the vibe was always off. I really kept to myself. I talked to his mom sometimes, but she, whatever. So time was going on and on. Mind you, this will go into like another personal story time, but keep in mind that this ex, I'm just gonna name him Hoops. Let's just call him Hoops. And if you know, if you know, whatever, we'll just name him that. You'll see why. But know that Hoops had a best friend named Ugly. I'm gonna call him Ugly. Yup. So every time I was off on Thursdays, he would pick me up, and I would sleep over until I think Monday, go to school. And then some nights of the week I would sleep there, but during the beginning I would go home until that Thursday, and it just continued until it was like every day of the week. But on those Thursdays, he would pick me up with Ugly. And maybe that's rude. Don't care. I'll just call him Popeyes. Ugly is Popeyes. Okay. So he would go to pick me up with Popeyes. They would be in the car, get Timbits. We would go home, hang. Popeyes would leave. They would play the game maybe, and then we would just go to bed, whatever. And then I think I would be off some days. But yeah, then we would just spend the day together. We would do stuff. Cool. So as time was going on, I just noticed like a shift in him. Sometimes we would sleep at his brother's house, but like no one told me that it wasn't okay until one time I just heard them talking about it. And I was like, oh. And even my mom was like, stop overstaying your welcome. And I didn't get it. In my head, I was like, I'm not. They're fine. They don't even care. Whole time they care. Okay. So, like, I could have just went home. You girl, like, stop all that. But I was just boy crazy, you know. Yeah, so after a while, it started to get a little weird. Like, he just wasn't sleeping enough. Like, he was started to get really into like basketball. Like, he was already into it, but like he was really getting into it. And then like he wasn't sleeping. He was staying up all night, making decisions that were just crazy, out of the ordinary. And I was like, something's up, bro. I remember one time when I worked at Tim's, I had $50 in tips. Okay? Okay? He used to use his brother's car because he never had one. Which, that's fine. So one day, I put it in the back seat. I go to look for it, empty. So I asked him, I was like, where's my tips? I'm thinking maybe he rolled them up or something. Or cashed them out, but like, he's gonna give me the money. He was like, oh, I used it. Huh? Use what? Use what? I said, what? He's like, yeah, I used it for gas. $50 in gas? I mean, yeah, but at the time, way back then, gas was never that much. I mean, if you're gonna consistently use the car, then yeah. But that's besides the point. That's my tips. My money.
It's my money and I need it now! It's my money and I need it now!
I need that money.
Oh, I hate Sorry, forgive me, Lord. But come on. Dang. Anyways, I was so mad. I was calling him stupid. Like, I was just saying anything. I was like, oh, I was being so rude. But, like, how you taking my money? And mind you, at the time, he didn't have a job. Like, I was the one supporting us. Because he was going to school. Well, we both were, so. Well, mind you, when I would go to school, I assumed that he was going to class, that he was going to school. We went to 2 separate schools, so how would I know, right? I would take the bus and go to school. I thought he was too. No, he wasn't. He wasn't, and I didn't find out until after. And I didn't know, like, they tried to... Wait, we'll get there. Okay, so before any of this happened, he went away to Toronto for basketball, right? And then he came back, whatever, and I stayed there. That was the hardest week of my... Stop! Would you stop here? Like, what the heck? You're showing off today, buddy. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. He went away to Toronto. Cool. Came back. Fine. And then that traumatic event happened. So, I think that might have triggered him as to why, like, this other thing happened. But while he was away, he was hanging with his ex, and I didn't even know. I didn't know until after he was gonna link up with the ex and tell her to come to the hotel. But it didn't end up happening. Not because of him, though. And I remember I told my friend, and she was like, well, at least he didn't. But that doesn't matter. It's the intent behind it. It's always a principle. I don't care. Like, it's always a principle. Like, you might as well have, you know? But don't though, but, you know? But I didn't know until after, whatever. That was a secret. They've been talking the whole time. Whatever, chat. Okay. Boom. So, moving forward, he started being weird. We were at his brother's house one sleep-in. And we were so inappropriate. Like, we would be so loud. Ugh. I wouldn't like me either. Like, get out of here. Get out my house, bro. Anyways, one day, it was 5 a.m. and he set his alarm clock for 8:30 to go play basketball, right? And so I was like, but you're not sleeping. Like, there's no sleep. Like, you need to sleep. Or, like, it's just not healthy. Like, you can't be doing all this activity and not be sleeping, right? And so when he fell asleep, I turned his alarm off because he just needed to get some sleep. So then he woke up and jumped up and looked at the alarm, and the way he turned back and looked at me, and the way he looked at me was like he wanted to kill me. He was like, "You turned off my alarm." I was like, "Yeah, like I was worried and I just wanted you to get sleep." He flew out the house. Like, he flew out the house, didn't lock it, left me inside, and I don't know where he went. So I called his brother. I was freaking out. I was like ran down the street. I don't know where he went. Apparently, he went to the bus, like, flew to the bus stop and flew to Halifax to go play basketball. But I felt like I couldn't leave because the door was unlocked, so the brother had to come home and let me leave. And I was crying that whole day because I didn't know what was going on. He wasn't answering, no nothing. That was terrible in itself. And so, like, as days were going by, like, it was progressing more and more. One time I was at his house and he slept on the floor and I slept in the bed. I don't know why. But then in the morning he was like staring at me. I was like, "What's up with you?" He was like, "I went to the basketball court last night." I was like, "What?" He's like, "I went to the basketball court and I tried to fly." And that's when I knew something was wrong, right? Duh. And so I was like, something. Oh, shoot, I said his name. Oh, oops, I gotta edit that out. Oh, gosh. I said, what did I name him? Oh, oops, like, something is wrong. Like, you really need to get help. Like, this is not okay. He was like, help? Like, I'm fine. No, not fine. None of the days going forward was normal. One time, he was packing his bag and I was like, "Where are you going? Like, what is happening?" And he was like, I'm going to the league." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm going to Toronto Raptors." I was like, "Okay, let me like try and, I don't know, go along with it just for a second to get some answers." I was like, "Okay, so how you getting there?" He was like, "The airport." I was like, "Who's driving you?" He was like, "His sister." The sister's in bed, mind ya. And then I was like, "Okay, how are you getting the flight?" He was like, "With our money." Ours? 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 We don't have any money. I have money. We don't have any money. And so I made sure to like hide my bank cards and all this stuff because he was starting to take my card and stuff, acting like it was ours, right? I was like, So I went to the sister's room and I was crying and I told her. And she told the mom was she was like, "Hoops, go to sleep." I'm like, yelled at him and then we went to bed. But I was crying. I was like, this ain't right. But I didn't tell my family till like after. Like, I wasn't saying nothing until it got real bad. So when this happened, I was like praying so hard. So I brought him to church, and this is when it got real bad. And this is when, like, I feel like the whole down Dartmouth got involved. Like, the whole community started to turn on me, little old me, little Nay. I didn't do nothing. But yeah, so I brought him to church. At church, it was cool until it wasn't. He ran up on the stage. Like, I was so embarrassed and I was so sad and I was so stressed. Like, I couldn't eat. I was just sick to my stomach. And I was just trying to help him. Like, I just wanted him to get help. So here's the stage, right? He like ran up. Like, he was just like praising at the altar. That was enough for me. So, but I was like, whatever, like, get your praise on. And then he jumped like this onto the stage and was like, and everyone was looking at me and I'm like, it's the first time he's here. I burst out crying. I ran downstairs. Excuse me. I started hyperventilating, and then like my former babysitter or whatever, she came down and was like laughing. I was like, it's not funny, like, he's gone nuts. And then they're like, no, he's just into it. Like, okay, because you don't know the lore, yes, it seems like he's just into it, but no, like, you don't understand. So we end up leaving. My granddad, this when he was alive, he was not impressed. And then my Hoops kept on being like, sorry, I'm getting stressed out thinking about this. Hoops kept being like, yep, we're gonna get married. And then my granddad would look back and be like, no, you're not. But I really did think we would get married, but psh. Anyways, we get home to my house, and by then, like, oh, I skipped a part. He, like, at his school, he won the championship, like, his team, right? He was hitting threes, like, good, right, for the championship game. But there was also other players that were putting in work, right? And so he felt like he won it, just him. Like, he's the reason they won. Like, I think, like, I used to always go to his games, and he would play, but I think he would be nervous when I was there. But that night, he was playing really good, and so I was so proud of him. But, like, he was acting like he carried the whole team on his back. Like, you don't understand. And so it was on TV, right? It was on, like, you know, when you could record it and watch it. But it was also on, like, a network or something. We had cable back then. And so he put it on, and we watched it once. This man kept rewinding it. And, like, he's like, look, each and every time. And then Mommy was like, that's enough. Okay, like, we get it. We know. And I was there. Like, I know. And I was like, okay, like, please just stop. And so, he was, like, laughing, but no one was laughing with him. And then he out of nowhere, he's like, I'm feeling tired. And then just, like, knocks out. And so I was getting concerned. I was like, Mommy, something's not right. Like, we need to get him help. So she, like, I'm freaking out. She ends up calling his mom. His mom takes him to the hospital. And then that was all I heard, right? So I'm reaching out to the sisters, the brother, the mom. No one's answering me. Not a soul is answering me. So I'm messaging Popeyes. Not really answering. But then he did answer. 3 days went by. I was sick to my stomach. Because I got no answer. Like, I didn't know what was going on. What happened. So Popeyes ended up messaging me on Snap and was like, just leave. I was like, no one's answering me. Like, I don't understand what's happening. And they were like, he goes, just leave him alone. Stop messaging them. Stop calling. I was like, what? Like, what happened? I was going on, and they were like, he was like, I understand, but you gotta understand, they just need their time. The family needs their time. I was like, is he okay at least? Like, what do you mean? And he wasn't really saying much, but he was like, just let it be. He's fine. He's gonna get the help he needs. Just give it time. So then I kept messaging the brother. He's not answering. The sister not answering. The other sister ended up answering, and she going off on me, being pissed. I was like, what? What did I do? She said that because I took him to church, that I set him crazy and I set a spell on him. I was like, what? She said that my church was a cult. And looking back, like, it just seems culty, but it's not a cult. But the reason why I took him there was because he was already acting manic, right? And so I said that. And she was like, no, not good enough. That's what happened. And I was like, but I was complaining to you before any of this happened. Like, I've been telling you guys that he's been being weird. And that's the whole reason why I brought him there. And they were like, nope. And even before then, the brother came to me and was like, do you really think is, like, crazy? Like, going crazy? I said, yes. That dead in the face, yes. Like, I come from a crazy family. I should know. I know what it looks like, and I know the signs. Listen to me. But they just thought I was a weird girlfriend because, again, I didn't talk much, right? So I understand that aspect. But dang, like, give me some grace. But, like, maybe if you listen instead of telling them just to go to bed to what I was saying, then you would know. Anyways, time goes by. I'm not allowed to talk to him, nothing. And then one day he reaches out to me. Mind you, this whole time I'm sick to my stomach. They're calling me a witch. All down Dartmouth's calling me a witch, right? And so I just, one time my friend messaged me and was like, girl, my boyfriend said that you're a witch or something like that. I busted out crying. I was like, what? Like, other people? Like, yeah, word got around that I was a freaking witch, a warlock. I'm like, what? How could I be a witch? And so I started, instead of being all sad, because I remember I busted out crying, and then my sister was like, what are you crying for? I was like, they're calling me a witch. She was like, so you're not? And I was like, well, how would you like it if the whole city is calling you a witch? That's bullying. It was online. Like, oh my gosh, it was terrible. I couldn't even go outside. Like, I couldn't go out or nothing. I just stayed inside, kept to myself, went to school. No, I think I dropped it probably by then. But it was terrible. Couldn't even be on Snap because it was all over. Like, it was really, really hard. But, yeah, so they were saying all that. And then one day he reaches out to me and like, I was like, oh my gosh, finally. Like, he's like, I can't really have my phone in here. He was in the, like, I don't know, the NS, the mental institution. Because he got diagnosed with what he had and all this stuff. And so, and he was telling me a story of how it seemed like a spirit came out of him. So that's why they thought that I was a witch. I was like, what? Whatever. I don't know. I don't know what happened. They were saying he was possessed. Instead of admitting that he had a mental illness, they're saying that he's possessed. Or that he had a spell casted on him because they didn't want to admit that he had a mental illness. Which is the downfall of the black community because mental illness does exist. Sometimes you do need meds. And yeah, sorry. And I'm not saying you should always just run to meds and like not try to wean off them or nothing. But if that is going to keep you in your right state of mind, then yes, you do need that. You can also pray. And God, like, using your medication to function as a human is not a sin. It's not going to make God mad. I'm pretty sure He wants you to function as a human being so that you can be in your right mind, okay? Thank you. Anyways, yeah, so that happened. He was in there. He told me to come visit. I'm going to end it like here and then do a part 2 because it's way too much. It's way too long. He told me to come visit. I went to go visit. And mind you, I was on the bus. And it was, I think I had to take 3 buses. Yep. 3 buses from my house to the terminal to the place. 3 buses. I get there. He stopped answering. I'm like, hello? I call. I get in there. His aunt is there and was like, you need to leave. You need to leave.
In Mexico.
You need to leave.
I was like, what? But he said I could come. She's like, you know he's sick. Why are you listening to him? Blah, blah, blah. Get out of here. And I was like, oh, I was too ashamed. At the time, it's not like clicking to me that he's sick though, you know? Like, I know that he was acting sick, but like it's not clicking to me that he didn't have a say over like what was happening. So I was so mad at him. I left. I was like, don't ever talk to me again. Bro, he's sick. Why are you even listening to him? And I snuck there because I knew I wasn't supposed to be talking to him. Like, what? So I'm like, I understand the aunt now. Like, get away from him, little girl. But I would probably be nicer. Anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna stop it there. I end up going home all depressed, crying. And then I'll say the next, because I gotta go. But I'll say the next part, I'll continue the next part next time. Next video. It gets crazier, but then it's like whatever. But thank you for listening. I'm out of breath. I'm sick that I went back in my mind for that. But you live and you learn. I can also in the next video go into more detail about like what they were saying and other things too. But just remember, Hoops' best friend is Popeyes. But yes, thank you for listening. Again, please sign the petition in the bio. Spread the word, share it, tell your friends and family, because Uncle Eddie has done the right thing, and to wait till he died to do some shady stuff is not cool, and it's not of God, and you should be ashamed. Because the thing is, a museum's a church, right? So it makes no sense why you're being ungodlike. Anyways, I've got to go. Thank you for listening. Follow me on all my socials. So do Naybiz1Z on Instagram, Naybiz3Zs on TikTok. Please share and sign the petition. It will mean everything. And just share the word. Like, look up Africville. It's all over social media right now. It's on the news. Like, just look it up. Spread the word. Get informed. And yes, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.